When did the class clown go way too far? My best friend Anthony was everyone's favorite at school. His jokes made even the strictest teachers crack a smile. I admired how he could brighten any room, until the day he completely destroyed a teacher's life. Ms. Parker was our new biology teacher, fresh out of college and eager to make a difference. She had this infectious enthusiasm about science that made even the boring stuff interesting, but she also struggled with anxiety, which Anthony quickly picked up on. Her hands would shake when she got nervous, and sometimes she'd stutter during presentations. At first, Anthony's pranks were harmless. He'd make funny faces during her lectures or ask ridiculous questions about frog anatomy. Ms. Parker would laugh it off, trying to be a good sport. But things started changing when she gave him detention for disrupting a lab experiment. The next day, Anthony showed up with a full dossier on her personal life. He'd spent hours stalking her social media, finding old photos from her college days where she'd been partying. During class, he started making subtle references to her past. He'd raise his hand and ask if she was sure about a scientific fact, then mumble just loud enough for everyone to hear, "Just like you were sure about those keg stands in college." Ms. Parker's hands started shaking more. Her stutter got worse, but Anthony didn't stop. He created a fake email account pretending to be her ex-boyfriend and sent inappropriate messages to the school board. He got his hands on her phone number and signed her up for endless spam calls during class. I tried talking to him, telling him it wasn't funny anymore. He just laughed and said he was teaching her a lesson about respect. The breaking point came during our midterm presentations. Ms. Parker had worked hard to help everyone prepare, staying late after school to review our projects. When it was Anthony's turn, he pulled up a PowerPoint. Instead of his assigned topic on cellular division, it was filled with embarrassing photos of Ms. Parker from her social media, including some in her swimsuit at the beach. He'd edited them to make them look suggestive and added cruel captions. Ms. Parker ran out of the room crying. The class was dead silent. Even Anthony's usual supporters looked uncomfortable. The principal suspended him, but the damage was done. The photos had already spread through the school, and parents were calling for Ms. Parker's resignation, saying she was inappropriate for teaching teenagers. Ms. Parker didn't come back after spring break. We found out she'd checked herself into a mental health facility for severe anxiety and depression. The substitute told us she'd had a complete breakdown and couldn't even leave her house without having panic attacks. Anthony got expelled, but he just transferred to another school where he probably became someone else's problem. I lost all respect for him that day. What he'd done wasn't a prank. It was systematic destruction of someone's life. The worst part? Last week, I ran into Ms. Parker at a grocery store. She was a shell of her former self, working as a cashier because she couldn't handle teaching anymore. When she saw me, she flinched and dropped the items she was scanning. Her hands were still shaking. I found out later that she'd lost her teaching license because of the scandal. The photos Anthony shared had been twisted into something they weren't, and the school board decided she was a liability. She'd spent her life savings on therapy and legal fees trying to clear her name, but the damage to her reputation was permanent.